Hello, friends. I'm Dana Bristol-Smith with Leap to Success, and welcome to Self-Care in Stressful Times. This is the start of our third season, and this is episode 1. We have been, if you've been with us, you know that each of our episodes is tied to a theme, and that theme is an affirmation that we are sharing all month long. And August's affirmation is, I am enough just as I am. So I'm going to invite you to say that with me because I think it's so important. So take a moment and just take a breath and go ahead and say, I am enough just as I am. And see how that feels to you. If nothing else, it will allow you to take a pause. Very good. Well, Leap to Success is a women's empowerment organization, and we're based in Carlsbad, California. Our mission is to educate and empower women who are overcoming domestic violence, homelessness, and other major life challenges to reach their greatest potential. And we started this series, Self-Care in Stressful Times, at the very beginning of the pandemic. And here we are about 16 months later, still in the midst of things where life continues to be uncertain for all of us. And we want to be here for you by continuing to provide tools and this little 30-minute respite that you can take in the middle of your day. You can also watch any of our episodes on our Leap to Success YouTube channel or our Leap to Success Facebook page. And hello if you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook. So to explore this theme of I am enough just as I am, today, we're calling this episode Exploring Your Enoughness. And I think we made up a word here, enoughness. So how do you feel about being enough? Or do you feel like you are not enough? Those are some questions we'll explore today. And we'll learn some great lessons from women who have explored this topic in their own journeys to finding self-love and self-acceptance. Today specifically, Kelly's going to be with us in a few minutes, and she's going to bring some key lessons from Louise Hay, and I'll be talking a little bit later on about the author Elizabeth Gilbert and a beautiful self-compassion practice that she has that I'll be sharing with you. But first, I want to talk for a moment about something that is happening right now, and that's the Tokyo Olympics. And there was this very unexpected event that happened with one of these, well, the greatest gymnast. I think she is now the greatest gymnast of all time, and her name is Simone Biles. And last week, Simone did something that was so unexpected, it literally shocked the world. And what Simone did was she withdrew from the competition. And she withdrew because she said in that moment, as she was doing this incredible feat, she didn't trust herself. Her physical body did something different than what she had planned to do. And here she is, this incredible athlete. She's 24 years old. I think she has won, 5 gold medals previously. She has the title of greatest of all time that we hear. And she took a pause and she recognized for herself that taking care of herself was the priority and not meeting others' expectations. And that had to be such a courageous act for her to do. And I think such a great lesson for all of us. And it really connects to our own sense of being enough. Can you be enough for yourself? Or are you always striving to be enough for others? So those are some of the questions that we'll explore today. But first, what I'd like to go ahead and do is ask Louisa to put up our stress poll, and I'd like to check in with you. So please rate your level of stress on the scale from 1 being no stress, I'm breathing, but I'm just relaxed, to 10, which is the highest level of stress that you'd be carrying. And as you know, if you've been with us before, we'll do this poll again at the end, and we'll check in with you and see if these 30 minutes has helped you reduce your level of stress. So go ahead and give your answers now, and I will read it off to share with everybody in just a moment. So let's see here. It should be coming up, and here it is. It looks like most people are between a 5 and a 6. So that tells me that you're taking care of yourselves, and I'm really glad for that. And still, I hope that we can bring that level of stress down during these 30 minutes. I'd like to go ahead and introduce my co-host, Kelly Grimes, and Kelly is going to guide us through a mindfulness practice and then help us explore the topic of being enough. Here's Kelly.
Thank you so much, Dana. And thank you everyone for being here and carving out this time for you. I want to offer you another opportunity to come home to yourself, to settle in, to breathe, to listen, to pay attention to what's happening within you. So I'm going to invite you, if you're comfortable doing so and you're in a safe place to do so, settle into where you're seated, close your eyes or soften them down. And then just bring that beautiful sense of curiosity and non-judgment to yourself. And take a few full body breaths in and then out through your mouth. When we breathe out through our mouth, it really allows our bodies to get the message that it's okay just to relax and pause in this moment. So as you're breathing now, I invite you to bring your awareness to how it feels to be seated where you are. Maybe feel the support underneath your feet. Notice where your palms are resting. And on your next exhale, maybe you just allow yourself to release anything that isn't serving you in this moment. So inhale, and then just release anything that might get in the way of you just being present with yourself. Now, if you'll bring your awareness to your body, and you hear the theme today that we're exploring, I am enough just as I am, I invite you to tune in to how that feels in your body. What sensations arise when you think of that affirmation? You might notice if there's places in your body that contract, that there's any tension and tightness around. You can notice if there's any place that you expand, that feeling like, I'm enough. There's a sense of maybe some freedom. But tune into the wisdom of your body in this moment. And if you're noticing any of those places where there's tightness or tension, I invite you just to breathe a little bit more deeply into those spots. And you can exhale a release of any of that tension or tightness. And now I invite you to bring your awareness now to your thoughts. And as you start to explore the sense that I am enough just as I am, see if you can be a curious observer to your thoughts in this moment. Notice if you can pick out a message that you're giving yourself as you open to that sense of I am enough as I am. And remembering to continue to breathe. And then I invite you to release awareness of your thoughts and come back to your breath fully. The only thing you need to pay attention to in this moment is breathing in fully and releasing. And now place your hand on your heart. And repeat that affirmation again. I am enough just as I am. Breathing into your heart space and out from your heart space. And tuning into a sense of gratitude for yourself, for continuing to be on this journey of self-nurturing and self-care, of taking these moments to pause and tune in and to listen. All the information that you have received in this short mindfulness practice is just that. It's information that you can continue to make nurturing and supportive choices around. So as you breathe in one more time with this deep sense of gratitude for yourself, and out, I now invite you to open your eyes back up, and let's explore this theme. You've just explored it in what the sensations were that arose within you. And what I've noticed is this is such an important practice because this idea or this struggling with or this working to open ourselves to believing that we are enough just as we are, it has been an ongoing part of many people's healing journey. I've found actually that at the root of most people's lack of self-worth and confidence is believing that they're not enough. Not smart enough, not capable enough, not creative enough, not fill in the blank enough. And I'm sure for you, if you tune in, you can hear the thing that maybe comes up for you, your inner critic says to you. And sometimes this message of not enoughness has been infused with too muchness, right? So sometimes we've been told or we've started to believe we're too sensitive or we're too emotional or we're too intense. And ultimately, this messaging that we've received or believed that has been either we're not enough or we're too much has sent us a message that we need to change, that we're not enough just as we are in this moment. So one of the people that has really inspired me and has inspired our organization is Louise Hay. And she was an internationally best-selling author, lecturer, and thought leader. And she wrote the book, You Can Heal Your Life, which sold over 5 million copies. And the focus of that book is really on self-love, self-acceptance, and affirmations. She believes that the thoughts we think and the words that we speak create our experience. And in this point, in this moment, is the point of power that we have a choice in. And we're really into choice because it's the thing that can transform any thought into something else. So she wrote the thought that I am not good enough is only a thought and it can be changed. That self-approval and self-acceptance in the now are actually the keys to positive change, and that we have to be willing to learn to love ourselves. She found that when we really did love and accept ourselves and approve of ourselves, that everything changed. And she said something about like it was as if little miracles were everywhere. She writes that loving and approving of yourself creates a space of safety, trust, deserving, and accepting. And I believe certainly that self approval and self acceptance are the ways that we make sustainable positive change, right? We can't change from shame or criticism or other things. We have to change from this place that we accept that we are enough as we are. And yet, so much of the time we have this critical thing. We think we're going to push ourselves into change by criticizing ourselves. And she says that criticism actually locks us into the pattern, the very pattern that we're trying to change. So that understanding and being gentle with ourselves helps us move out of that pattern. And remembering, it's such a great quote, and we actually used it in the last episode. But remember, you've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. And I love this idea of being intentional about loving and accepting ourselves. And we do that in lots of different ways, but certainly one of the ways that we do that is through giving ourselves positive and uplifting messages like, I am enough just as I am. So we've been exploring this, and in one of our empowerment circles this week, I asked our participants, the graduates of our programs, to say, what does it mean to you when you say, I am enough as I am? What comes up for you? And so one participant said, reminding herself that she's enough helped her pause that striving part of herself that always wants to be better. And it paused enough that she could recognize that she's enough just where she is. She doesn't have to do anything to be enough. Another person said that when she set boundaries, it reminded her that she is enough. And it reinforced the importance of checking in with herself, doing a mindfulness practice, noticing what she's doing, and affirming to herself she's doing the best she can, forgiving herself when necessary, and being able to move forward through that with self-compassion and self-acceptance. Some other people said that knowing that they were enough allowed them to speak up for themselves and have the confidence to own their own uniqueness. Other people said that it helped them be grounded in the knowledge that they're enough, that they could believe in themselves based on that, and not rely so heavily on other people's opinions of themselves, which is so huge. Another person said that thinking that she was enough brought up anxiety and fear. Well, what if she isn't enough, right? And that struggle that many of us feel about having to accomplish things, right? If I accomplish this list, then somehow I'm enough. Whereas just being who I am and showing up is enough. So it helped her highlight, oh, that's an area that I want to focus on. And finally, one person shared that recognizing that she is enough just as she is reminded her to be compassionate over and over and over with herself. So I'm wondering for you, do any of these responses resonate with you? Is there something that comes up for you when you think about, I am enough as I am, just as I am? And if anybody wants to share that in the chat, I would love to share that forth, because I think it's so helpful for us to know that we're not alone in this, that many of us struggle with these thoughts as we come back to, I am enough as I am. One person said that when they think of this, what if it is shame, right? So the shame that tells us we're not enough. Yeah, thank you for naming that. Shame does tell us that we're not enough. So when we say that, and maybe we struggle remembering that, it can remind us that shame, if it can be said out loud, it can disperse, right? Because shame can't live in the darkness, or shame does live in the darkness. It can't live in the light. So to be able to say that, and that what comes up is, it's a good reminder to tell ourselves, I am enough just as I am. You know, Louise said that this practice of self-love and self-acceptance is so much a part of this practice of self-compassion. Knowing that we're enough reinforces every time to be compassionate. And one of her tools was to use mirror work. speaking your affirmations, your words of love, acceptance, and compassion for yourself in a mirror. And this is a powerful practice. It sometimes feels really strange and uncomfortable, but it's very transformative and healing. So I want to invite you to practice saying, I love and accept myself just as I am, which will reinforce that I am enough just as I am. And it can put, as we have this steady stream, somebody said that there's this steady argument with myself, am I enough, am I not, all of those things, and that can be so exhausting. The fact is, moving into this place of acceptance can be so liberating and can be so freeing. And somebody else shared that the expectation is that we should be dependent and not enough is the norm. So it's actually a radical act, to believe in ourselves, to trust ourselves, to go back to the fact that we have inherent worth and dignity. Just showing up on this planet, we are enough. So Dana has a really beautiful practice of compassion to share with you now. But I invite you to continue all of the ways that you can to reinforce for yourself that you are enough just as you are. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kelly. And it's always good to hear words from Louise Hay, because she was such an incredible teacher. And so much of her work was helping people find that self-acceptance. And when we accept ourselves, we believe that we are enough. Well, I want to share an author that has inspired me, and maybe you too. Her name is Elizabeth Gilbert. She goes by Liz, and in 2006, she wrote a memoir about some really difficult experiences that she had, and it was called Eat, Pray, Love. And I should say difficult experiences and exhilarating experiences. That book went on to sell over 12 million copies, and it was even made into a movie. And I just pulled this off of my shelf. This is another one of Elizabeth Gilbert's books. This one is called Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear. So this is a really good one too. Fear comes up sometimes when we think about I'm not enough. We get afraid. It brings up anxiety for us. It's something that is challenging for all of us. Sometimes when we're trying something new, we feel like if we're not smart enough, we're just not enough. So we need tools and we need practices to remind ourselves that we are enough. And Elizabeth Gilbert has this beautiful practice. And, as you know, she is a writer. So of course, this practice involves writing. And it's something that she does every day. And she calls it one of her most important spiritual practices. And it is to write to herself, but not write as herself, but write from love. So what would love say? If you could imagine perhaps a grandmother, someone that you really held you very closely and very dearly, or somebody in your life who has been a real comforter, what would they say to you when you are feeling not enough? What would they say to you if you were feeling afraid? And then go ahead and write those words to yourself. So she calls this practice writing from love. And she said that as a writer, she found that she could write to herself as a way to speak to herself with words of comfort. And that those words were often the words that she wanted to hear from someone else, but she didn't. So she wrote those words to herself. As I mentioned, she does this daily. And I think it would be a wonderful way to really acknowledge yourself and to help you feel like you are enough. The practice is called writing from love. And it might sound something like this. I'm here with you and I'm not going anywhere. I see you. I care for you. I know you. I love you. It's okay to feel what you're feeling right now. It's normal. There's a lot of tough stuff that you're dealing with. You don't need to be some kind of hero or anything different than who you are. I love you and I'm with you always. Could you imagine writing to yourself with words like that? Could you imagine the type of comfort that that might bring? One thing that it might bring up is an issue of worthiness. You know, are you really worthy of receiving words that are so loving and so supportive? Well, my answer to that is yes. Of course you are worthy of receiving words of comfort and support. And, you know, oftentimes we look to others to comfort us, but we really, it behooves us to find comfort for ourselves. It behooves us to find ways to soothe ourselves. Kelly always used the words nurture, and I'm going to use the words compassion and love. So I'm going to invite you to take on that practice, to write to yourself from love. And I'm going to ask you to share a few of those words in the chat, if you would. So my question is, what words of comfort would be helpful for you to hear when you are feeling that you're not enough? What words would give you comfort? What words would help you in a time when you are not feeling that you are enough? Go ahead and write them in the chat. And I know that, you know, this can make us feel vulnerable to think about those words that we long to hear. But I want to encourage you to give yourself this beautiful gift and give yourself words that you long to hear. And if it's difficult for you to think of what could you say to yourself, think about the kindest, most loving person that you've ever had, that you've ever known, and what would they say to you? And I see several of these coming in right now. So here's one. It says, you are loved just the way you are. Yeah, that's beautiful. Someone else says, I see your light shining no matter what. That's beautiful too. And someone else has said, I'm here with you and I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, that's beautiful. And someone else has shared the affirmation, I am supported. Yeah, that's a great one. And someone else has shared, hearing others who've said, I wouldn't be here without you. That's beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad to see these flowing in right now. Someone else has said, you are beautiful from the inside out. Yeah, how lovely. And someone else has shared, I believe in you and am here for you. You are an amazing being. Yeah, those are just so beautiful and so powerful. You know, there used to be work that people did with psychologists years ago that was very big, and it was called inner child work. And it was where you rediscovered your inner child and you looked at what you didn't receive as a child, what you wanted but you didn't receive. And as an adult, you started giving that to yourself. And whether it was through words that you said out loud, or like Louise Hay, you said it in a mirror, or like Liz Gilbert, you wrote yourself a letter. I want to encourage you to take on one of these practices, because I think it's never too late to show ourselves more love and more compassion, especially when times are challenging in our lives. We need to be the one to accept ourselves and give us a break, and also acknowledge ourselves for how special we are. So I'm so glad that you were able to jump in and write down those phrases that would be comforting for you. And I want to encourage you to take this on as a practice. If you have a journal, see if there's something you could write to yourself every time you pick up that journal, and write it from love. And I'd be really interested to see how that practice works for you. I'm going to ask Louisa now if she will go ahead and put up our stress poll. And I'd like you to mark down on that scale of 1 to 10 what your current level of stress is. Check in with yourself. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for doing that. And let me check and see what our number is going to be. Okay, and that should be coming up in just a moment. So here we go. It looks like the majority are now at a 3. So good work, everyone. You've brought down your level of stress because it was up between a 5 and a 6 when we started about 30 minutes ago. So good job. As we close today, I want to remind you that you are worthy. And this comes from our Leap to Success, Leap to Your Best Life affirmations. There are 48 powerful affirmations that were written by members of our Leap to Success community. And we now have these available for sale on our website, and we'll go ahead and put the link in the chat. It's $25 plus tax and shipping, and we will ship it to you anywhere. And would love for you to have these affirmations so you could pull one out every day and have a reminder of your worthiness, of your specialness, and all those beautiful, encouraging words. And I'd like to close today with this quote from Germany Kent, who I was not familiar with, but she's quite a prolific author and really looks at this ways to be positive and encouraging to ourselves. So Germany says, stand for something. Make your life mean something. Start where you are with what you have. You are enough. I echo those words from Germany. You are enough. And I will look forward to seeing you again. Our next live webinar will be 2 weeks from today on Tuesday, August 17th at noon. So thank you for registering in advance for these webinars. And thank you for sharing us with a friend. I think we can all be like that pebble in the pond. It makes hot ripples out. And you can share these ripples with friends and colleagues by sharing the invitation to these webinars. So thank you, Kelly, for your words of wisdom today. Thank you, Louisa, for your support. And friends, I'll look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.